Hi there, teachers and students. Welcome to another 6th grade story time with Student Savvy. We are continuing our Halloween series with another spooky story. This one takes place in ancient Egypt, and it is called The Ghosts of the Nile. So prepare to be a little scared. All right, let's jump in. The year was 1285 BCE during the reign of Pharaoh Seti I, one of Egypt's most powerful rulers. 11-year-old Kia gripped the edge of the boat, her heart heavy and mind racing. Just 3 months ago, her father had passed away. He had been a royal scribe, a highly respected position entrusted with recording the victories of Pharaoh Seti I, especially those from the great battles fought to reclaim Egypt's lost lands. Every year, her father had made the journey to the Temple of Ra, a sacred place dedicated to the sun god, to offer prayers and gifts to honor the fallen soldiers. But this year, it was different. This year, he wasn't there to guide them. Kia and her younger brother, Amun, were making the trip alone, bringing offerings, gifts of food, incense, and amulets, both for the soldiers and their father. A man named Horam had offered to take them down the Nile. The river, considered the lifeblood of Egypt, was thought to be more than just water. It was a spiritual connection between the land of the living and the world beyond. Horam had just suddenly appeared at the dock, just as they were wondering how they would make the journey without their father. There was something unsettling about him, though. His voice was cold, his eyes distant, and Kia couldn't shake the strange feeling that clung to the air.
"We'll arrive at the temple soon,"
Horam said, his voice low and calm, yet somehow chilling. The boat glided through the river's dark waters, the full moon casting an eerie glow over everything. Amun shifted uneasily beside her, clutching the basket of offerings.
"Something feels off.
He muttered.
This whole thing, it doesn't feel right."
Kia nodded, but said nothing. She felt it too. The Nile had always been a bridge between life and death, her father had told them. But tonight, it seemed more like a gateway to the Duat, an ancient Egyptian underworld where the souls of the dead traveled after death to face judgment. She leaned over the side of the boat, peering into the water, and that's when she saw it, a face, pale and hollow, staring up at her from beneath the surface. Kia gasped and grabbed Amun's arm.
"Look!"
She whispered, her voice trembling. Amun followed her gaze. His eyes widened in fear. Ghostly faces, pale with glowing empty eyes, rose from the Nile. Their mouths moved, but no sound came. It was as if they were trying to speak, but couldn't.
"They're everywhere!"
Amun breathed, his voice shaking. He turned to Horam, expecting him to hurry the boat along, but Horam wasn't rowing. The boat seemed to be moving by itself.
Horam, what are they?
Kia asked, her voice tight with fear. Horam stared ahead, his expression unreadable. Before he responded, a pale, skeletal hand reached out from the river and gripped the side of the boat. Amun screamed and tried to push it away with the oar, but the oar passed right through the ghostly figure, as if it were made of mist.
"They're pulling us in!"
Amun shouted, panic in his voice. Kia's mind raced. Her father had told them stories of soldiers lost in battle, men who had died protecting Egypt but were never honored properly in the afterlife. Could these be their spirits? The forgotten warriors of Pharaoh Seti I?
They want to be remembered.
Kia realized.
"They're the soldiers from the great battles, the ones who died without their names being spoken.
Horam spoke then, his voice barely above a whisper.
They seek only remembrance. In ancient Egypt, to be forgotten in death was a fate worse than the final judgment. Without it, they will take you with them into the Nile."
Kia stood up, her heart pounding in her chest.
We remember you.
She shouted to the ghost.
We will tell your stories. We will honor your names. Just let us go.
The ghostly hands slowly released their grip on the boat. Faces began to sink back into the dark water. The whispers faded into the stillness of the night. Kia and Amun collapsed onto the boat's bench, gasping for breath.
"We did it!
Amun whispered.
We're safe!"
But Kia wasn't so sure. She turned to thank Horam, but her heart nearly stopped. He was gone. Amun looked around in confusion.
"He was just here!"
Kia stared at the spot where Horam had been standing. Her blood ran cold. Lying on the floor of the boat was a scarab amulet, ancient and dusty. The scarab, the symbol of rebirth and protection, was placed with the dead in their tombs. She picked it up, feeling its strange, icy weight.
Forum. He wasn't alive.
She whispered.
I think he was one of them.
The wind picked up, swirling around them. The boat rocked slightly as the moonlight gleamed off the surface of the Nile. Kia's breath caught in her throat as she stared down into the water, and there, just below the surface, she saw it, Forum's face grinning up at her. The end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. If your teacher downloaded this resource off of Teachers Pay Teachers, you have the printed version in front of you following along with the term tracker, vocabulary, and other questions and supplemental resources. But yes, I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to stay tuned for the next video. All right, have a good one. Bye.